Welcome to the muscles of the trunk, the front and the back and the sides, but it all works out. So this is going to go through a lot of what's in your note packet. I added one picture and I'll point that out when I get there. And then I will probably paste that just into a Google Doc and put that on Canvas so you can add it to your notes or at least have it to refer to. So we're going to start with the back. So you're looking right now at the back. We're going to focus on the trapezius muscle, which is right up here. It's this one back of your neck and running down. We're going to touch on the deltoid, which is the muscle in your shoulder, named because it's a triangle like the Greek letter delta. And we're going to look at the Latissimus Dorsi, which runs across the back of the back, down low. So this is a close-up. You can see on here, and forgive me as I rotate my head to look at my notes over here. I want to make sure that I actually stay on track for a change. I thought I'd try it once. So the deltoid, you can see right here, has that kind of triangular shape to it. It originates up here in the clavicle and the back of the spine of the scapula here. I should review a couple of terms. So when we talk about the origin and the insertion of a muscle, the origin is essentially also called the head of the muscle. It's where the muscle starts. So the origin of my deltoid is up here along the spine of the scapula on the back, around to the clavicle, the collarbone here on the front, and then it inserts here in the upper arm, about halfway down the humerus. You can see right there. How do you know which one's which? The origin is the head of the muscle. It doesn't move. So when the deltoid contracts, it pulls the insertion up to where the origin is. So it's going to pull it this way. So if we think about the way the muscle is arranged, then we can understand better and we can visualize better what it's going to do, whether it's a flexor or an extensor or an adductor or an abductor, all those wonderful dance motions that we were doing before we were so rudely interrupted by that virus that shall not be named. So the deltoid is the easy one. It's this meaty muscle right here. It's where the doctor gives you a shot most of the time. They like big muscles to inject into. This is responsible for flexing and extending the shoulder and lateral rotation of the arm. So if you hold your arm out, you turn it laterally, so away from the midline, you can kind of almost feel the deltoid contracting. If you rotate it medially, well, that's right here. When we get around to the front, that's our pectoralis friend, pectoralis major, so named so that it won't be confused with its little cousin, the pectoralis minor. But see, now I'm getting ahead of my notes. So the deltoid right here, the trapezius on the back, I would turn around. Well, I would turn around and show you, but that would require me to actually have visible muscles, and I haven't had that much workout time with all of this going on. So the trapezius back here, the trapezius originates along the thoracic vertebrae, which are the vertebrae that are right back here, cervical vertebrae in the neck, the thoracic vertebrae down here that the ribs are connected to. The trapezius originates along the thoracic vertebrae and even up here on the back of the skull, and it inserts, if you look at this, it comes up and over, and it inserts up here on the clavicle. So that means that that big muscle from the back of your neck down to the bottom of the thoracic vertebrae, look at those fibers. Those fibers all start here and they run up into the shoulder. So the Latissimus dorsi, or the trapezius, is going to let you pull your shoulders back. The trapezius is also involved with extending the head and the neck. So if I turn sideways, flexion, remember, so the trapezius is going to extend and pull my head back up. It's an awful big muscle just to pull the head back up. But if you think about it, there's not a lot of surface between the skin on your back and the bone. So that's a thin muscle. So it's got to have a lot of fibers spread out to do the same job that the deltoid can do because it's a thick muscle, lots of fibers running on top of each other. Down here along the bottom of the back is the latissimus dorsi. The latissimus dorsi's origin is also back here on the vertebrae, from T7 down to L5, which is going to be right above the sacrum. It's going to come, the latissimus dorsi, though, you'll notice, again, this starts out wide here, and it comes up, again, onto the humerus. This actually is going to insert at the head of the humerus. So clear up here at the top. The latissimus dorsi is responsible for adducting the arm and also helps with the rotation. Muscles, as you'll notice from, I think it's in this week's reading. If not, then I'm giving something away that you didn't read yet. You didn't read it yet anyway, if you're watching this probably. We're talking about muscles working together in pairs. So you have the prime mover, which is doing the job. The easiest example for that is the arm. So the bicep, which you know we'll get to next week when we do the arm, is the prime mover. It's doing most of the work. Well, there's an antagonist. The opponent is down here. Muscles have to work in pairs. So you've got all these muscles on the front of the torso that are going to pull or abduct the arms. You need that antagonist to be able to pull them back out. So you've got all these muscle pairs. In the case of the trunk, they're on opposite sides of the body. Oh, look, a practice picture. So we can pause. In fact, what I think I'll do is I will tell you, pause it once my face is out of the shot. I'll give you a second to get to your pause button. Look at the muscles, decide what their names are, then hit play again, and I'll come back and we'll go through it. So let me slide back out of the way, and you can pause it now. And now you've hit play, so you see me come back. So what's this muscle right up here? Yep, that's the trapezius. It's the trap. What's this muscle down here underneath? The latissimus dorsi, good, the lat. So the trap is up here, the lat is down here. The deltoid, that's our triangle, that's our big meaty shoulder muscle. And of course, underneath here, where all of these are connecting, is the humerus. Over here on the other side, we have the other deltoid. We've taken out the trap, the trapezius, so that you can see the spine of the scapula, and you can see the acromion right there, where the deltoid originates. We also have in this picture the tricep, which is the main muscle on the back of the arm. More about that next week. How'd you do? The beauty of this is that you can use your note. You have this picture in your note packet so you can practice, or you could just watch the video over and over again, probably with the sound off, except that you won't hear the answers. All right. So now we're to the front, and the muscles that I've underlined here in red are the muscles that we care about for the front. So when you make your flip grid for the trunk, you're going to point out to me that you know the muscles that are underlined in red. Whoops. So the 3 on the back and the 8 here that are on the front that we pointed out. Some of them are old friends. Some of them we have talked about a time or two, but it's been a while, so I want to go back and revisit them. And I also want to remind you of another word, fascia, the connective tissue, dense connective tissue that surrounds the muscle. We're going to talk about fascia because some of these muscles are originating or inserting in other muscles. So they're anchoring on each other. We're also going to talk about the 6-pack or the 8-pack and how you can get one if you really want one, and why you shouldn't worry about it, because everybody wants their 6-pack of soda to be cold. So you always put a layer of insulation on top. So we'll start up here at the top with the platysma. The platysma is this sheet of muscle right here. It originates in the fascia of the pectoralis major. So if I stand up, pectoralis major is the main chest muscle. It's what we think of when we think of doing push-ups. I'm not going to get down and do push-ups because I would have to reorient the camera, and I don't want you laughing and falling out of your chair. But the platysma originates here at the pectoralis major, and it inserts up here in the mandible with the muscles here at the bottom, the lower jaw. So the platysma is involved in opening the mouth, and it's also involved in pulling down the corners when you make your sad face. Like when you realize that you're learning this by video, and so you're laughing at my stupid jokes, and I can't hear you to give you extra credit for pity laughs. Oh, well, like that was the thing. So that's the platysma. The other one is our old friend, the sternocleidomastoid. And I will show you again on the next picture. In fact, let me just jump to it. You've seen this. So here's the platysma. This is a new picture. I will put this in a Google Doc and put this up on Canvas for you as I post the video. What I've done here on the 3D Human site is I've taken the platysma off on this side. So with the platysma removed, you can see the sternocleidomastoid. Over on this side, you can just see the sternocleidomastoid right here. This is important because this one originates at the manubrium of the sternum, the knot on the necktie. So right here. And it inserts at the mastoid process, that bump at the bottom of the skull, back here behind the jaw. Now, why is it important to know that it originates here and it inserts here? Because when these muscles work together, which way do they move the head? Down. So the origin isn't moving, but as the muscle contracts, the insertion is dragging the head down. And then what is it that flexes the head and brings it back up? Trapezius. Excellent. I knew you'd come up with it, even if this is the 10th time you're watching the video and you finally came up with it. I knew you'd get there. That's what matters. The deltoid it's on the front and on the, well, it's on the side. Remember, we said we'll do the front and the back and even a few on the side. That's our side muscle. Plus the abdominal muscles that wrap around mostly. Okay, we have the pectoralis major. Pectoralis major originates over here. It originates from the clavicle is up here, the sternum. We can see our old friend, the sternum here, the acromion, the body of the manubrium. The acromion is over here on the scapula. In a while. So the manubrium, the body of the sternum, it originates here. It originates from the clavicle. You can see part of the pectoralis major here. This is all pectoralis major. This little swipe here, and then all of this. The originates there, and it inserts up here at the top of the humerus. So the pectoralis major is going to help when we're moving the arm. A lot of that comes from here. It's going to flex the shoulder. It's going to help extend the shoulder. It's going to adduct and medially rotate the arms. You know the pectoralis major. I want to touch on what it does. It's one that you've heard. You've probably heard deltoid before too. But now we're going to get a little deeper. We're going to get into the obliques and the abdominal muscles here in the tummy. It's important to also know that this big white sheet here, this is another aponeurosis. The cranial aponeurosis up here on top. We have the aponeurosis of the external oblique, which holds the two sides together and covers the rectus abdominis. So look at those. Commit it to memory because guess what? It's another practice picture. Let me slide out of the way. You pause it, look at them, name them, and then start it back up again, and we'll see how you do. All right, how'd you do? You figure them all out? I really want to point at the screen like I was in the classroom, but you can't tell what I'm pointing to, so I got to do the arrow. So what's our muscle right here? This big, wide, platypus-looking tail here? The platysma. See, don't you love these hints? What's the muscle over here where we remove the platysma? Excellent. Sternocleidomastoid. If you can spell it, that's even more points. Over here, this muscle, and let me emphasize again. There's the pen. There's the pen. Give me a minute. So this is the deltoid. This is all which one? Oops, that way. Sorry. You know what? I hate restarting, especially this far into the video. So we're just going to pretend. So this, pectoralis major, this, deltoid, good. This right here, this is the most superficial of the abdominal muscles. This is the external oblique. Oh, that makes sense. The external, it should be the one on the outside. Let me guess, on the inside is the internal oblique. You're thinking ahead. Sternocleidomastoid we mentioned up here, and this is pointing to the aponeurosis of the external oblique. Well done. Thanks for playing. We're almost done with this. Then I have to make another one on the sarcomere contraction, but I'll put that up another day. So bouncing along, here we are with the abdominal muscles. Let me bring this up. And again, you can see we've got the aponeurosis there. You can see the bottom of the pectoralis major. This has got some cutouts. So it's completely cut out the aponeurosis on this side so that you can see the rectus abdominis. You have the external oblique. Below that, you have the internal oblique. And below that, you have the transversus abdominis. And those all connect to, well, the internal oblique and the transversus abdominis connect to the fascia of the rectus abdominis. The external oblique goes over that with the aponeurosis of the external oblique. It's that aponeurosis that makes it possible, along with a lot of work, to have six-pack abs. And, you know, everybody wants a six-pack until they realize they want it cold and they put a little layer of insulation above. So some of us take our insulation to extremes. We like really cold soda. But the muscles are all right here. And let me stand up and point out again. So the external oblique is this outermost muscle right here. The key to remember here is that the fibers are running downhill. The external oblique originates up here, ribs 5 to 12, and it inserts down the iliac crest, down here in the pelvic girdle. So the muscles are running downhill towards the navel. The internal oblique, the muscles turn around and run the other direction. The internal oblique originates at the iliac crest and the lumbar fascia, and it comes up to insert in the bottom ribs. It also inserts in the fascia of the rectus abdominis. So the external oblique, the fibers run downhill. The internal oblique, just underneath that, they run uphill. And the transverse abdominis, wait, I remember trans. Trans was across. The transverse abdominis is the abdominal muscle where the fiber, yes, it's like it's your girdle. It's the deep one. It helps to compress the abdomen and hold everything in. In fact, that's its entire job, according to your textbook. Compress the abdomen. The external and the internal obliques compress the abdomen. And they also flex and rotate the vertebral column. So they're going to be the ones that let you twist. They're going to be involved in bending you forward. And then the back muscles are going to be involved in straightening you up. That rotation, that twisting, that keeping everything nice and flat. If I hold my breath, it looks like a flat stomach. If I relax, it's not as big as it was. So remember that that's the key. If you're looking at a diagram of the muscles, ETI, external, internal, EIT, EIT. Sorry. External, internal, transverse. And they all connect right there at rectus abdominis, which is the sit-up muscle, because the rectus abdominis originates on the pubic crest and it inserts at the xiphoid, the base of the sternum, and it's your sit-up muscle. Pull you forward this way. You're doing crunches, you're working the rectus abdominis. So why does it give you a six-pack? Because of these tendinous intersections. You've got all these muscle bundles, might be 6, might be 8. And as you work those muscles, you get more muscle fibers. Those muscle fibers get stronger. As you lose body fat over that area, it becomes very easy to see and to distinguish where those bundles are. You get that look of six-pack abs. Oh, look, another practice picture. Take a minute to figure out what those are, and then we'll go over it. Did you pause it and play along, or did you let it run? It's up to you. So up here, what was this? This is the bottom of, right here, pectoralis major. This muscle right here with the little tendon lines, that's our rectus abdominis. Rectus running straight up and down. Look, muscles running downhill, and it's the top that's being cut out of. External oblique, running uphill. Internal oblique, running sideways across, transverse abdominis. What's this? That's the aponeurosis of the external oblique. All right, this is another picture that I've got. This one, we've taken out the internal oblique completely. So we have the external oblique, muscle fibers running down. We have rectus abdominis here on one side. You can see where it inserts here at the bottom of the sternum. And then we have the transverse abdominis here from the lowest ribs, originating on the costal cartilage of the bottom set of ribs and inserting in the up. You can see it kind of runs up here. It's coming up to the xiphoid process and also the fascia of the rectus abdominis. So that's it. And there's the whole front, including the arms and legs that we will try to squeeze in before we run out of time. I hope this was helpful. Leave a comment. Let me know what should be clarified.